Unlike Gavrilo Princip, Archduke Franz Ferdinand was an excellent shot. One of his castles, Konopisht, in what is now the Czech Republic, is full of the evidence. By the age of 50, he'd shot 5,000 stags, as well as 200,000 other animals, all carefully numbered.
Anyone who disturbed the Archduke's peace at Konopisht by trespassing on his land, as unsuspecting trippers sometimes did on Sundays, had to reckon with being shouted at by an irascible and almost apoplectic proprietor, who threatened to shoot anyone who dared set foot in his grounds a second time.
By 1914, Franz Ferdinand was emperor in waiting. Everyone knew it couldn't be long before his uncle died. Even the official portrait was ready, Franz Ferdinand with the stars and sash only the emperor could wear. He had no time for the etiquette and convention that hemmed in the Vienna court. He defied his uncle by marrying Sophie Hotek, who was not of royal blood.
The most intelligent thing I've ever done in my life has been the marriage to my Soph. She is everything to me. My wife, my advisor, my doctor, my guardian angel. In a word, my entire happiness.
Franz Ferdinand also had radical ideas for political reform. He recognized that the less power national minorities had within the empire, the more they'd look to other countries for help. The old system allowed ethnic Germans and Hungarians to dominate the government. It was a system that couldn't last.
I can't help being surprised that there is any loyalty left among the nationalities after their treatment for so many years past. I must have them with me. This is the only salvation for the future.
In 1914, the German emperor came to stay with Franz Ferdinand at Konopisht. The Kaiser had a simple solution for dealing with troublesome national minorities.
The Slavs are born not to rule, but to obey. This must be brought home to them. And if they imagine they can look to Belgrade for their salvation, they must be cured of this belief.
But Franz Ferdinand had a better idea. He thought political reform was the best way to keep the multinational Austrian Empire on its feet and protect his own future as emperor. He had this map drawn up, showing how the Habsburg Empire could become the United States of Great Austria. Above all, Franz Ferdinand wanted to avoid war in the Balkans. One night, he made a toast after dinner.
To peace. What would we get out of war with Serbia? We'd lose the lives of young men, and we'd spend money better used elsewhere. And what would we gain, for heaven's sake? A few plum trees, some pastures full of goat droppings, and a bunch of rebellious killers.
Gavrilo Princip crossed the border from Serbia into Austria-Hungary here at the Drina River. He paddled out to Isakovic Island, where there was a Serbian guard post. The soldiers helped him wade ashore into Bosnia. From here, he made his way to Sarajevo, where he met up with 6 others in on the plot. The Serbian Major Tankasic had supplied them with 4 pistols, 6 bombs, and suicide pills in case of capture. They were already in Sarajevo when Franz Ferdinand arrived outside the capital on the 25th of June. They planned to attack him 3 days later as he drove from the railway station to the town hall. One would be stationed at the first bridge on this road. Princip and the others would cover the rest of the route. Franz Ferdinand chose the date of his visit badly. Sarajevo was decked in flags for the occasion, but the 28th of June was Serbian National Day, a natural focus for hatred of the Habsburgs, as the Serbian ambassador to Vienna warned.
This will cause much discontent. Some young Serb might put a live round rather than a blank in his gun and fire it. Therefore, it might be good if Archduke Franz Ferdinand were not to go to Sarajevo.
But the Austrians laughed off the ambassador's fears. On the morning of the 28th of June, Franz Ferdinand and Sophie arrived by train in Sarajevo. Despite the warnings, security was light. No soldiers lined the streets, just a handful of policemen. The royal car was a Greifenstift Tourer. At Franz Ferdinand's request, it travelled with the top down, very slowly, so the crowds could see him and he could see the sights. As the procession passed the first bridge, the conspirator there threw his bomb. Sitting opposite the royal couple was Oskar Potiorek.
The explosion came immediately after the Archduchess's cry to drive on quickly. I was sure no damage had been done to our car, and the Archduke commented very calmly, "I've always thought something like this might happen."
The bomb had bounced off the car, exploding behind it and wounding 2 officers and some onlookers. Franz Ferdinand stopped to ask after the casualties before hurrying on to the town hall. There, the mayor of Sarajevo began his official welcome speech. The Archduke interrupted.
Lord Mayor, what is the good of your speeches? I come to Sarajevo on a friendly visit and someone throws a bomb at me. This is outrageous.
So far, the young Bosnian's plans had gone badly wrong. Franz Ferdinand was alive, official security was now on high alert. Gavrilo Princip turned to go home, stopping on the corner of Franz Joseph Street to buy a sandwich. Then his luck changed. Franz Ferdinand had left the town hall. He should have been driven straight along the river, travelling too fast to give any other assassins a chance. But his driver took a wrong turn at the corner of Franz Joseph Street. As the royal car tried to reverse onto the main road, Princip came face to face with his target.
At that moment, I heard the crack of a pistol shot, followed swiftly by another, and saw in the same split second a man standing right in front of me being thrown to the ground by the people around him, and the shining saber of a security guard descending on him.
A thin stream of blood spurted from His Highness's mouth onto my right cheek. The Duchess cried out, "In heaven's name, what has happened to you?" Then she slid off the seat and lay on the floor of the car. I thought she had simply fainted. Then I heard His Imperial Highness say, "Sofurl, Sofurl, don't die. Stay alive for the children." I asked him if he was in great pain. He answered me quite distinctly, "It's nothing."
Franz Ferdinand and Sophie died on the way to hospital. The people of Sarajevo didn't know that a clutch of Serbian army officers had secretly sponsored the assassination. But they made the same leap the world did, that Serbia had as good as pulled the trigger herself.
The pro-Austrian element in the crowd went wild. The excitement of the moment turned into fury against everyone and everything Serbian. Serbian shops, schools and churches were smashed and looted. The streets choked with furniture, clothes, bicycles, books, even icons and crosses, twisted and befouled, lying in heaps in the gutters.
Over 200 Serbs were arrested in Sarajevo alone. Local officials hanged some in the city prison. Many more died in pogroms across Bosnia and Herzegovina. The funeral of Franz Ferdinand and Sophie was held in Vienna on the 4th of July. Oskar Potiorek had already written to the Foreign Ministry, calling for Austria-Hungary to take revenge against Serbia.
We must take the first opportunity for a destructive blow against Serbia to give the monarchy a few decades of calm internal development. Serbia must learn to fear us again.
Austro-Hungarian Chief of Staff Konrad von Hertzendorf agreed.
This is not the crime of a single fanatic. Assassination represents Serbia's declaration of war on Austria-Hungary. If we miss this occasion, the monarchy will be exposed to new explosions of ethnic unrest. Austria-Hungary must wage war for political reasons.
In life, the Crown Prince had been a champion of peaceful coexistence with Serbia. In death, he was becoming a cause for war. The murder of Franz Ferdinand did not immediately set Europe alight. International tensions in early July remained low. But behind the scenes in Vienna, Austria-Hungary's leaders were planning how to take revenge on Serbia without getting stamped on by Serbia's powerful friends. Even before the assassination, Army Chief of Staff Konrad von Hertzendorf had pressed for war against Serbia no fewer than 20 times. Now he made his case again.
I expressed to His Majesty my opinion that war with Serbia was unavoidable. That is entirely correct, said His Majesty. But how are you going to wage war if everyone, in particular Russia, is going to attack us? We have backing from Germany, I replied. His Majesty gave me a searching look and said, "Can you be certain of that?"
This was the moment when what could have been just another war in the Balkans began to turn into the First World War. Austro-Hungarian Emperor Franz Joseph now asked the German Kaiser for support. On the 6th of July, he got just the answer he wanted.
The German government is of the opinion that we must decide what is to be done. Whatever we decide, we may always be certain that we will find Germany at our side, a faithful ally and friend of our monarchy.
Germany's crucial decision to back Austria was made with no care for the consequences. Neither the Kaiser nor his senior political and military leaders took any steps to find out what Austria-Hungary had in mind. It was an extraordinary oversight, because nothing in the Balkans happened in isolation. Europe was divided into two camps. On one side were Germany, Austria, Hungary and Italy. On the other were France and Russia. War with one could mean war with the others. No one knew how Russia would respond if one of the leading Balkan countries was attacked. She might go to war with Austria to protect Serbia. Then Germany would have to fight to protect Austria. The Germans thought the Russians might stay out of it. The German ambassador in St. Petersburg insisted Russia couldn't risk war for fear of internal revolution. The German foreign minister